What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my show, Coffeepreneurs, where we talk coffee, business, and finance. I'm your host, Ayman Shamaa, CEO and founder of Shamaa Consulting Group. So today I want to kick off exactly where we left off on our last episode. If you guys tuned in, we sort of talked about the first steps to get into how to start a business, right? So if you did that, you should be at a point now where the Googling has wrapped up. You have figured out if you're a product or service-based business, or you'll be doing both. Today, we're going to talk about how to incorporate your business and which one to choose. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, today I have my good old-fashioned cup of joe. It is actually rare if I drink a regular cup of joe. This is probably the least coffee drink that I choose. But this morning, I felt like I needed a little bit of both. So I have a latte in one hand and I have a cup of joe in the other. But the cup of joe will be the star for today's show. Now, let's get back to what we were talking about. So how to incorporate a business and which one do you choose? Because when you Google this stuff, there's like all of these scripts that come out and you have to read through pages and pages. So hopefully this sort of cuts through that and gives you just a little bit of understanding of what you need to do. So let's just talk about there's like 5 different ways that you could incorporate a business, right? So the first that's probably most spoken about is the LLC, which is a limited liability company, which I'll talk about today. S corporation, C corporation, yes, those are 2 different things. Sole proprietorship and nonprofit. Now the sole proprietorship and the nonprofit, we're gonna table that. If you have questions on those 2 things, reach out to me and I'll happily go over that with you. But for today's video specifically, I want to answer a lot of questions that I get with the first 3 that I mentioned. So what is an LLC? And I'm sure you've heard of this term being thrown around before. It stands for Limited Liability Company. And it's probably the most popular way to incorporate a business. The reason being is it's fairly simple to start up. You can actually be the owner of the business, and I'll get into that in a second. And also, it allows you to separate your personal liability from your business, right? Let's say, as an example, something happens to a business, you get into a lawsuit, it doesn't penetrate over to you. The biggest thing that you have to really figure out when you're looking into incorporating a business is taxation and liability and future growth. Taxation, liability, and future growth. If you can figure out those 3 things, the path starts to become really clear. So LLC is really good if you just need to incorporate your business. You want to be the owner of the business. You want to be able to get out there, start making things happen for yourself. And also, it's known as a pass-through entity. And what that means is you actually can take the losses or the gains, whatever the case is, of the company and pass it to your own. So as an example, if my business, let's say my business did really great and I had a write-off that I wanted to be able to pass through over to myself, you'd be able to do that in an LLC. Now, the biggest caveat with an LLC is you have to pay self-employed tax. And that's kind of a double dip tax, which is a little frustrating. And that is the reason I think a lot of people who are more tax focused will look at different tax havens like the SCorp and the CCorp. One more caveat, just to give you this tidbit. There is a way to form an LLC and also have it taxed as an SCorp. So if you have questions on that, reach out to me. I won't get down that road because it gets a little complicated. So the second one is SCorp or S corporation. So with that being said, the S Corp is basically the same thing of incorporating a business, except now you have a corporation, right? What's the difference between an LLC and a corporation? Well, an LLC is an individual owned business. A corporation is owned by shareholders. So an SCorp allows you to not pay the self-employed tax, but it allows you to actually have shareholders. Now, the shareholders within this SCorp does have tax advantages, and also it allows you to issue common stock. Now, I'll let you do a little bit of research on that, so this video is not too long-winded, but that is a huge plus. And I think SCorps are really good, and I think a lot of people that are looking for investors and looking to grow have a way by doing that because they can issue common stock to investors who are investing in their business. Now, the third one is probably what you see a lot in Fortune 500 companies, and that's the C Corporation or C Corp. Now, C Corp allows you to write stock like an S Corp, except it allows you to give preferred stock. Now, if you're looking at a C Corp, this is going to be the type of incorporation you want to do if you really plan on making it big and going the long haul. So this is for businesses that are looking to actually go public, businesses that are looking to get immense seed funding, and businesses that are looking to give investors sort of that long haul way. And C Corps are a little bit more cumbersome to set up. But if this is something that you think you have a brilliant idea, could go the long way, you want it to go public without having to refile or all that stuff, then definitely C Corp would be the way to go. Now, with everything that I said today, and I know it's a lot of information and I'm trying to make it as simplistic as I can, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to taxation. Really and truly, the difference between these paths are the three things that I mentioned, and taxation is a huge part of that. So definitely do yourself a favor. Make sure you hire a trustworthy CPA. I have a list of CPAs I recommend based on your area. So just let me know where you are, and if I have a contact there, I'm happy to provide that. But I would definitely bring in a CPA early on, explain to them the vision, explain to them now what you know, the direction you want to go into, and allow them to give you maybe what's best for your situation, because everyone's situation is different and the tax havens that we all need is different, and we definitely want them. So I hope this clarifies some of the long-winded answers you may read doing your research. I hope that you're able to now see a path a little bit more clear. And that wraps up today's episode. I'll see you guys next week. As always, cheers and be productive. Well, at least try. Oh, so good.